Ezekiel chapter 8 this week. Chapters 8 and 9, the two chapters together, the prophecies contained in these chapters, actually they were delivered like within a time span of 11 months. Not all delivered at the same time, but during this time span. So he was speaking this during that time span of 11 months. But they're kind of regarded as a whole. You know, you could have skipped the chapter break between chapter 8 and chapter 9, but and they contain a review of the condition of the people of Judah, including those who were still in the Holy Land, okay? And those who were with the prophet exiles in Chaldea. Okay? And so here we are, chapter 8. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, okay, whichever day that was. This 6th year refers to the 6th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity. In chapter 1, remember back in chapter 1, in chapter 1 verse 2, 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity. So this is a year later than chapter 1. Okay. 6th year, 6th month, let's see. So going by our calendar, it would be, what, June 5th, but you know, by the Jewish calendar, I have to look that up to where it is on the Jewish calendar. So it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, getting pretty specific here on, Ezekiel remembered this, like, you know, a lot of folks can remember the date, you know, the date, you know, the month, day, and year of their salvation. I can remember a Thursday in August of '82, but I don't remember what day, you know, what was the date. But you know, some people can remember that. There's, you know, other things I can remember, and then of course, you know, whatever I had for breakfast yesterday morning, that's another question, you know. Or why am I in this room? That's another question. But you know, but Ezekiel, I mean, he remembered the 5th day of the month, 6th month, 6th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity. So there was memorable stuff. Rememberable stuff, right? Okay. I don't know if that's a word. It is now. Stuff. So as I sat in mine house, so he was in his house. His house was near the gate, okay? And it just so happened the elders of Judah sat before me. So there were elders of Judah, the if you will, the oldest of the captivities that were in Chebar with him there in Babylon. So they're there, and whether or not they are actually listening to him or paying attention to him, you know, his fellow exiles, they are no longer unwilling to hear him. Some of the exiles, remember, a remnant, are willing to hear him. Okay? So there are some there. And the elders, there would be the leaders in the community, in this captive community in Chebar, okay? And they're sitting there before him. And he's preaching to them. Okay? And all of a sudden, okay, I'm sure they may have been mystified by what happened, because, they probably saw, most likely from the description here, they probably saw Ezekiel kind of, if you will, maybe, start staring off into the, like, you get a kid who's lost his attention span, or anybody who's lost his attention span, and they're staring off, and I do that every once in a while too. I'll go out there and sit in my lawn chair in the yard and kind of just sit there and stare. Yeah, kind of, with a blank look on my face, like that. And that's probably what they saw. Okay? So they're sitting there. The hand of the Lord God fell there upon me. Okay? Now, again, would this be a picture? This would be a picture of God reaching out, putting his hand on his shoulder. Okay? He's got a message for him. And he sees a vision. That's why I say, he's probably got a blank look on his face and staring. He's got the hand of God on him. Okay? And then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire. Okay? Now, this is, probably a likeness of the appearance of fire, if you will, possibly a man, a bright, shining, glorious human, man. Possibly this would be a vision. This would possibly be a vision of Jesus. Okay? Possibly, but appearance. Look, because actually here in the next couple of verses, he's transported, and then he sees the second vision of God in the same chariot that he was in chapter 1. Okay, that vision. Okay, a likeness as the appearance of fire, bright, shining, and from the appearance of his loins. That's where we get the idea that it had the semblance of a man. Right? The appearance of his loins, even downward, fire, and from his loins even upward, and as the appearance of brightness, as the color of amber. Okay, this is a vision of God, and possibly a vision of Jesus when he appears. Remember, Jesus does appear in the Old Testament. In places he's commander of the Lord of, he's the Lord of hosts, and like that. Okay. So it's got, again, and remember, Moses saw a similar vision, but he could only see the backside from the cleft of the rock. Okay. So here's this, and he, Moses didn't get to see what Ezekiel saw here, and I'm sure it would have been bright, it would have been stunning, and the color of amber. You know what the color? That's kind of the color of fire, the orangey color. Okay, and he put form the fourth of a hand, and took me by a lock of mine head. Not too many locks up here, but some of us with locks. And remember, at the beginning of this, of Ezekiel's prophecy, remember he was told to shave his head. So he's probably had some grow back out, but grab him by a lock of the hair, and the Spirit lifted me up, picked him up. Wow. Now what the elders sitting there what they see is him still sitting there. Okay? That's kind of the picture. They're seeing him still sitting there. But in this vision, the Spirit lifts him up between the earth and the heaven and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem. So he is transported to Jerusalem, okay, to the gate, the visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looketh toward the north. The door, okay, which door? You got to get your map of Jerusalem out. The door of the inner gate that looketh toward the north. Okay? And so this gate actually leads from, okay, let's see, if we're at the temple, okay, remember the door of the temple faces east, that way, okay, so this gate is that way, okay, up to the north, and this gate, goodness, oh, where am I? Oh, it leads from the outer court to the inner court, or the court of the priests. Okay, it's called the gate of the altar because it was from that side that the priests approached the brazen altar. Now, if you come in from the east, the main gate of the Temple Mount, you come in from the east, the main door, you're bringing your sacrifice. You've got an outer court, and you've got the setup. Let's see, the brazen laver, the brazen altar, but the priest would come in this northern door, okay, and that's kind of significant here because it's the priests that are coming in through this door, okay, and they're the ones that should know better about the idolatry that the children of Israel are practicing and why they are going through this severe judgment. Okay? So they approach the brazen altar through this door, through this gate. Okay? The prophet is on the outside of this gate. Okay? And so that the image, we've got an image of jealousy here. So he's on the outside of the gate, and this image that we're going to talk about in a minute, this image of jealousy was set up in the outer or people's court over against the northern entrance to the priest's court. Okay? And so that's where we are. Brought me put me forth, took me like, and the Spirit lifted me up to heaven and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looketh toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy. Okay? And this is an image of a false god. We've got a false god. Remember, the temple got defiled by false gods. So this, he's seeing this image, this vision of a false god sitting, okay, if you will, inside this door where the priests come through to head to the brazen altar to do their sacrifices there at the brazen altar. Okay? So he's outside this gate. He's seeing this image, okay? False god, and this false god, okay? Well, okay, you want to get on the wrong side of God? You provoke God to jealousy. You worship a false god, okay? And that's what this false god is doing. He's sitting there, if you will, you know, hey, God, fooey on you, you know, all that sort of stuff, thumbing his nose at God, sitting there in his temple property. His temple property. Think about that. Gosh, okay. So here he is and seeing this, and we don't doubt that that these scenes are intended to represent what actually occurred. Okay, because the temple was eventually defiled, and all of that, and they're ideal pictures to indicate the idolatrous corruption of the priests themselves and the people. Okay? The priests are the guys that should know better. They are God's, they're God's chosen people, but they were also assigned to do and to carry out God's will in keeping the sacrifices and the duties of the temple holy and separate from these. That false god, shouldn't have been able to sit there while priests are walking by him. Okay? So, yeah. Oh, false god. Yeah, you can imagine a little, a big brass Buddha, if you will. I like that vision. The big brass Buddha sitting there by the gate, provoking God to jealousy. Okay? So it's a picture, and so the false gods of the heathen are brought into the temple in order that they may be detected and exposed by being brought face to face with the true God. Okay? And history does support that actual facts which had occurred, there are actual facts that had occurred and were occurring. Okay? And we're doing this. So, the gate of this, find my place again, provoketh, and behold, okay, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. According to the vision that I saw in the plain. Okay, he again sees God in that vision in Ezekiel Chapter 1 with the chariot and the four creatures, with the four faces. Okay, that's the image. He sees God there in the temple. Okay, and the glory was there. And according to the vision that I saw in the plain, okay, so he is there. He is part of this, right? And actually he has, if you will, departed from his seat between the cherubim in the Holy of Holies. Remember, the Ark of the Covenant was in the Holy of Holies, and the mercy seat was there, and that's where God would sit when he was present in the temple. So now he has departed from his seat of honor, okay, where he should be and where they should be worshiping him. Okay? So now he is like at the threshold of the temple, close to this gate, okay, being provoked by this false god, and he's there to execute vengeance before it quits the house altogether. Okay, before he leaves the temple altogether, okay, he's there to execute vengeance. Okay? And all of this anger and wrath and fury on the children of Israel because they allowed that false god to be there. Okay? So there is the inner court, which was full of the brightness of the Lord's glory. Okay? So the glory of the God of Israel was there. in the courtyard, right there, according to the vision, and he sees it. And actually, I think I will stop right there. We're going to stop like 5 minutes early and give you time to get, coffee and donuts, but we'll stop right there. Cliffhanger right there.